This is our shipping container home, and my wife and I have been living here for over a year. And while we were excited about it at first, there are some things about it we really don't like. If you're thinking about getting a shipping container home or a tiny home, here's 5 things we wish we had known. Our tiny home is a 40-foot high cube, which is a little taller than a normal shipping container. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath, with a kitchen and a living room. So we have all the necessities within 320 square feet. Our first problem is there's no room for guests. We have kids that live out of town and a lot of grandkids that my wife loves to come over and spend the night, but it's really hard to find room to fit everybody in. It's especially hard around holidays because we all like to get together, and when everybody comes into town, there's no room for them to stay with us. Also, when we have friends come over, it's okay, we can hang out outside when the weather's nice, but if the weather's bad, we can't have friends over because there's nowhere inside for everybody to be. If for some reason they needed to spend the night, I don't know what we'd do. So our second problem is structural. Because the house was pre-built off-site and moved to this location, we had some damage that occurred during the move, like cracking tiles and things like that had to be fixed. Now that the house is set, we've still had some settling issues that we didn't think we would have, with some tile cracking again and the flooring, of all things, splitting down the middle.
So this is our tile shower, and we talked about how the house settled during movement and we got cracks. We used to have a crack that followed this line all the way up, but they came out and pulled all that tile out and fixed it. But since then, the house has settled some more, and we have a crack in this corner that runs quite a distance. That's not all the way up and down, but it's quite a bit. Also, one of the problems that we've run into is as it settles, it's shifted, and this pocket door rubs on the wood, and you can see where we get a rub mark that we're going to have to fix.
Also, one of the other structural issues that we have is when we try to hang cabinets or things like that, we have to be very careful with the pipes that run through the walls because it's so small of a space to run the water pipes and the electric lines. You have to be really careful where you hang stuff or you might hit a line. Also, with having the pocket hole doors, we can't hang anything on those walls because the door goes inside the wall.
So to try to come up with some more storage space, we hung these cabinets and shelves ourselves. But because we were worried about the water and electric lines, we had to buy a special stud finder so we could follow the lines. And I had to follow and outline the water and electric lines before we hung these brackets right here to make sure that we didn't hit them. This is one of the pocket doors that I was talking about. And when you open it, we're unable to hang stuff really on this wall right here, anything heavy. You can see that we've got some command strips right there so we can hang light stuff, but nothing that will drill through the wall with a holder. The pictures on this wall, we probably could have hung with a screw, but I think we just used a command hook on that one. With the TV, I had to do a stud finder so that way I could mount the bracket to the wall because it rotates and pulls in and out so we can move it in and out of our way. But you can see with the pictures, most of the pictures on the walls, we've just hung with command strips, but these 2 real light ones, I've used tiny little picture hangers that don't go very far through the sheetrock.
Our third problem is the most common when you hear about these things, and that's storage and downsizing. We came from a 1,400 square foot home, and we knew it would be an adjustment, but it's been a whole lot harder than even we thought it was going to be. I could see it being easy for those coming from a small apartment or this being your first house and not having stuff. But moving from a large home or a larger home into this square footage has been a very hard adjustment. Over the past year, we've been trying to go through our stuff and weed out things that we don't need and keep things that we do need. For example, we got rid of a microwave and got a toaster oven because we thought we wouldn't really use a microwave that much. We figured out that we did, so we actually found a microwave that's a microwave and convection oven combined, and now we have them both in one spot. And there's several things like that that we've been having to change out, just trying to figure out really what works for us. Our fourth problem is the fact that we live inside of a metal box. Things that we didn't think about before we moved in here was receiving cell phone and Wi-Fi signals inside the building. Before we figured it all out, as soon as you walk in the house and close the door, we lost all outside services. It wouldn't come through the walls.
So what we've done is placed a hotspot right here in the window where it will actually receive signals. That's the only place we'll receive a signal, is in the window, and everything in the house is connected to that one little box.
And we have to put our cell phones on Wi-Fi calling and connect to that hotspot, or we get no service inside our house at all. And whereas being off the grid is not out of the question for us, we would love to move towards that. Right now we are not, like we've said before, and so that has created an issue for us.
That's the only internet that we have, and cell phone service.
One of the other problems is the layout of our house. Even though we love the layout, we ran into some problems with heating and cooling because the air conditioner was in the bedroom and it was a straight shot through the house to the living room. It worked pretty good as long as all the doors were open. But if we had to close any of the pocket doors to, take a shower or somebody go to bed and close the door, the opposite ends of the house were polar opposites temperature wise. So we did have to add a second mini split in the living room, but since we've done that, it's been wonderful. Another problem that goes along with that is the outside of the shipping container. We didn't put it very far off the ground, trying to keep a low profile, but by doing so, we've created a small space that stays shaded and cool, which is perfect for some of the creepy crawlies that you don't want making houses right under your house. Also, the insets of the shipping container doors are shaded and cooled and out of the weather, so we have a problem with things making their homes right outside our door, which is not where you want them.
This is the end of the shipping container with the doors on it that I was talking about, and here you can see where all the pine needles have fallen. We haven't cleaned it in a few days because we've been busy, but you can see all the little webs that have built up under the awning or the overhang because it's a safe, dry little area. One of the things that we just noticed that we're starting having problems with that also hurts our foundation pylons is we have a gopher. Apparently he likes to live in the cool dark of the house and dig out from it. As you can see, his little path runs right under my smoker that I just moved to this location a few days ago. And I think he's hanging out right there under the house where you can see that tiny little gap.
And our fifth problem, and another one that we knew we would have to make an adjustment for, but didn't realize how difficult it was going to be, is personal space. I love my wife. I know she loves me. We've been married for a while. But when you move from 14 to 1,500 square feet down to 320, you really spend a lot of up close and personal time. And sometimes you just need your own little space. And that's been something that we've had a hard time figuring out how to do. With our house basically being a straight line and a hallway through the whole thing, it's hard when we're both getting ready for work at the same time in such a small space, figuring out how to work around each other without stepping on each other's toes. Sometimes it causes a little frustration, but we're figuring it out.
So when we talked about personal space, if I'm in my bedroom and my wife is in the living room watching TV, she will be all the way down there past the dog watching TV on the couch. So if I have made her mad that day, I can close these two doors and she can have a little time to be unmad. But that's as much personal space as we've got in here.
But if you're considering moving into a tiny home or a shipping container home with someone else, that is definitely something that you're going to have to consider before moving in. Now, having said all this, all we're trying to do is put out there that there are some things that are drawbacks or that you have to consider. We still love living in our shipping container home. There are way more positives than these negatives. It's just things that we wish we had known prior to moving in. None of them would have kept us from buying this house and living here. Just some things that we could have thought about to make adjustments beforehand. We have talked about maybe someday expanding a little bit or even trying a different type of tiny home, but for now, we love the house that we live in and we plan on staying here. It's been a pretty eventful year, and we would just like to thank everyone who has supported our channel. We hope you've enjoyed these videos. We love making them. We plan on making more, so we'll see you around. But for now, that's all, folks.